Greetings to all 5D chess aficionados. It's been quite a while since the last video was released, but that time was not wasted in vain. This video presents a new software product, 5D Chess Pro. I'm sure that the chess community, many of which spend a lot of time analyzing played games, streaming, commenting on the games of other chess players, deserves an application that allows players not only to play, but also to save the game, share it with other players, review the game, analyze it, scroll through moves forwards and backwards, review different lines, comment it, and help both novices and experienced chess players to improve their game skills in a comfortable and easy way. They deserve an app that allows commentators and streamers not just look on display and say their comments, but also to analyze threats and lines and demonstrate them to viewers. Ability to save and analyze the game is only a part of what the 5D Chess Pro app offers. It also provides a set of tools to facilitate the decision-making, loyalty programs to stimulate interest in the skill growth and development of chess players, fairy pieces and different presets with configurable game rules, customizable time control, and many more. But let's talk about everything step by step. So step 1, which every user has to do, is to download the application or to update it and to register in the system. Most likely your way into the universe of 5D Chess Pro began with an invitation link to its Discord server. But if you got the application in your hands right away, you can find this link in the application at the beginning of the public chat here. By following this link, you will be taken to the main page of the server with a description of the rules of behavior on it. Read them carefully, they are very important. The next section after the rules, on the top left, is the How to Start instruction. With this instruction you will be able to download and start the application. To do this, you will need to follow this link to the first post of the news and updates thread. This message is in the pinned messages and you can always find it easily. And if something irreparable happened to your application, you can always download a fresh version of the application with a fresh database of played games by following the links in this post. You can download them from both Google Drive and Dropbox. Let's download the app from Google Drive. Click the corresponding link, click Download, save the file to disk, unpack it with the 7Z archiver. If you do not have it, then Google and install it from the official site is easy enough. After unpacking, go to the folder that appears and run the launcher. Note that you need to run the launcher, otherwise, the application won't be able to connect to the server. After the first launch, my antivirus asks to pass the application for analysis, after which it reports no problems and allows you to continue. Maybe the same will happen to you. During the download progress bars may freeze. This is not an error. Another thing to note is that the app requires permission to write to the folder it's unpacked to. It will save both games and your settings, so make sure that the folder you unzipped the app to is not write protected. This can be either the D drive or the system downloads folder, for example, if you don't have a D drive. Also, some operating systems have a limit on the file path length. You may have to shorten it either by renaming the folder or by moving it closer to the root directory. Once the app is downloaded, you can register by clicking the corresponding button. The registration process is quite simple, so I won't show all the details of it. Simply enter your username, password, email address, repeat the password, you can make it visible, ask for a confirmation code by clicking the send code button. Check your email. Note that the mail with the code may end up in the spam folder, so don't forget to check it too if you don't see it in your inbox. Find the mail, copy the code from it, paste or enter it. Choose the rating you want to start your journey as a chess player with, and click confirm registration. Keep an eye on the system chat messages. In case of any problems, the corresponding messages are displayed there. Username can contain uppercase and lowercase English letters, digits, hyphens, underscores. It must be longer than 3 characters and shorter than 32 characters. The password may also contain uppercase and lowercase English letters, digits, hyphens, underscores, and it must be longer than 6 characters and shorter than 330 characters. The password must contain at least 1 uppercase letter, 1 lowercase letter, and 1 digit. If everything is correct and you have successfully registered, you can go on. If something went wrong, please contact the Discord community in the corresponding section. Either one of the members or I will help you there. So, let's assume that the registration was successful. After each login, you will be automatically redirected to the list of challenges, where you can either create your own challenge or accept an existing one. Let's try creating a challenge. Let's click Create a Challenge. The challenge creation panel appears. In the list at the top, we see available presets. If you want to see the full names of the presets, you can click here and the entire list of presets will be duplicated in this table. We'll talk about the presets themselves later, for now we'll just create a challenge. Let's select the preset, Empire. You can select it either in the drop-down list or in this table. Next we have the time control. You can create your own time controls, but more on that later. Let's choose the correspondence game, 24 hours per move. Here we can select whether we want to play a rated or unrated game. When we select a rated game, it automatically substitutes our current rating for this time control. Next we can select the color of the pieces we want to play, random, white or black. Let's select Play Black. Here we choose whether we want to save the game to the database. I made the option not to save the game for practice games, when the coach shows the student how not to play, for example. It hardly makes sense to save such a thing in the database. Please note that only games with time control that will be saved in the game database can be rated. After we configured the game we want to play, we can select a local game where we play with ourselves bypassing the server. For these games, we don't need to log in or even have an internet connection. In a local game we can just move pieces and analyze different positions. But we configured all these settings not for the sake of a local game, but for the sake of an open challenge. So let's click Create Open Challenge. Once a challenge is created on the server, we will see it in the challenge list. Each challenge is described by 3 lines. First the nickname of the person who made the challenge, then the name of the preset, then the time control and information about whether the game will be saved in the database. If some line is not visible in full, you can click on it and see its full text in the tooltip. If you change your mind about playing the game, you can delete your challenge by clicking this button. To make changes to your challenge, you don't need to delete it. You can simply change the settings and click Create Challenge again. Each user can have only one open challenge. When the challenge is successfully created, all users who are online can see it and accept it. Let's try to accept it. Now I will switch to my other account and pretend to be another user. This is how other users see our challenge. Click on it. On the left, the starting position with the pieces corresponding to this challenge is shown. And on the challenge description panel, we see who created the challenge, the creator's rating, our rating, the increase in our rating in case of a win, in case of a draw, and in case of a loss. Below is a description of the preset and time control, which we will talk about later. If everything suits us, click Accept Challenge. The challenge is accepted, the game has started. Let's look at the game interface. We can close the system chat for now. The clock cannot be removed. Here you can enable or disable notation on the boards. Here we choose the orientation of the game board. At the bottom will be either white or black. Here we enable or disable the action panel. Let's look at the buttons on this panel. The first button, Postpone Game, is inactive for now. This feature is still being considered at the time of this video. I am thinking about 2 options. Either to implement it as a help to the opponent in case they lose their internet connection, and then it will be a stop of the clock and waiting for the opponent to appear online, or it will be a full postponement of the game, as in the old days. We make a move, the opponent does not see it, the clock stops, and the game resumes when both opponents agree. Write your option in the comments. Next is the Cancel Game button. It works for games where less than 3 moves have been made. If you realize early in the game that things are not going as planned, you can cancel the game. The next button is Resign. The system will ask if you really want to resign. You will need to confirm. Next is the Offer Draw button. You cannot offer a draw more than once in a row. If you offered a draw and the opponent refused, only they can offer a draw next. If they then offer a draw and you refuse, only then can you offer a draw again. To offer a draw, you need to make a move and instead of the Move Confirmation button, click Offer Draw. Let's make a move and offer a draw. Let's say, Knight to F3. And now instead of confirming, we offer a draw. Let's switch to the opponent and see what they see. They have a new button that blinks blue and green, which they can click to accept the offered draw. If a draw was offered, and the opponent took a long time to think but ran out of time, the draw will be automatically adjudicated. Next are the move, cancel and confirm buttons. You can also use hotkeys for them. F3 to cancel a move, F4 to confirm. Next button is to claim a draw if there have been no captures for the last 70 moves, 140 half moves. When the counter reaches 0, you can claim a draw by pressing this button. Next is the button for detailed information about the preset of this game. We will talk about this when we look at the presets. The help button will tell you about hotkeys and that if you double-click on the left half of the game battlefield, it will take you to the beginning of the universe, and if you double-click on the right side of the game battlefield, it will take you to the last board of the game. Next, we have buttons with additional features. The $sign indicates that these features might become paid in the future, relative to the release date of this video. If they have already become paid, there is likely a separate video or description on the Discord server. Please comment on which features you think should be made paid and which should remain free. The first of these buttons is Jurassic Squares. By enabling this option, you will see from which square and how far the rook, bishop, and archbishop can travel back in time and which opponent's piece they might encounter on their way. We will look at an example a bit later. Next is the button for creating a daughter, or test, game. After pressing this button, a local copy of the current position will be created. Let's press it. Since we now have 2 active games, a list of current games appears under the clock. We see that the first item in the list is our parent game, where it is shown in red that it is Black's turn. The second item in the list is our daughter game, which has no time control. In the daughter game, we can make moves for both sides and see what different lines lead to. This will be useful not only for the players themselves in complex situations but also for streamers, who can use this feature to show different lines to their viewers. Once we have decided on the move we want to make, we can switch to the parent game by selecting it either from the drop-down menu here or by clicking on its row here. You can also return to it by pressing the next button on the action panel, Return to Parent Game. Having reviewed the buttons on the action panel, let's return to the top panel. Next, we have the navigator. This is the game's minimap. The rectangle on it shows the area of our universe that we currently see in front of us. By dragging the game battlefield, we see the corresponding changes on the navigator panel. We can also click on the point of interest on the navigator panel and move there. This is very convenient for searching and selecting time travels, for example. Also, the navigator will show which boards the selected piece can move to. For example, when selecting a knight, we see that it can move to the current board and the previous one. And if we select a pawn, we see that it only moves on the current board. All the advantages of such board highlighting can be appreciated when you have several timelines and many boards in the past in front of you. Then you can select a piece and click on the highlighted boards on the navigator, moving to them and seeing the specific places where the selected piece can travel. Next is the automatic move confirmation feature. If you are playing a known opening or experiencing time trouble, this option can be useful for saving time and reducing the number of actions to complete a move. Let's try to enable it and make a move. We see that the move is instantly confirmed. Next is the checkmate or stalemate detection. This is not disabling detection. It is just displaying the detection panel. If you think there is already a checkmate on the board, but the game is not over, you can open this panel and see the first found solution to the position that saves from checkmate or stalemate. Or, if a solution is not found within 1 second, it will write that there is not enough time to find a solution. In the latter case, it may still be a checkmate, stalemate, but the result will not be recorded. You can either resign if you do not see a continuation or lose on time while searching for it. In this case, the first found solution to the position is the knight's journey from b1 on board L0b3 to b3 on board L0b1. What else needs to be said about the game interface? Right-clicking on the game battlefield, either on the board or on empty space, cancels the piece selection and frees the mouse. If there is no piece selection to cancel, right-clicking on the board creates a test board. On it, you can assess threats, see checks, etc. To cancel it, simply undo the move. Now let's see how Jurassic Squares and the daughter game work with a simple example. Let's cancel this game and create a new challenge without time control and rating. At the same time, let's look at another feature available only in this mode. We create the Empire again. Without time control, without rating, playing black, do not save. Create. We accept the challenge and go to the position of the well-known children's mate. Let's enable Jurassic squares here. And pay attention to the C6 square. In the last row, it says, H2C, in red letters. This means that if an archbishop, H, was standing on C6 right now, traveling back 2 moves, it would encounter an enemy Caesar, C. Caesar is an enhanced king. And the Tsarina is an enhanced queen. The archbishop travels diagonally in any dimensions. But we will talk about the pieces later. So the Jurassic square C6 shows that the Tsarina, which also moves like an archbishop, would give a check to the black Caesar in the past. From this, we can conclude that if we could place the Tsarina on b5 now, it would give a check to the past after confirming our move. Or we can place it on a4 now, and it will give a check to the past in a move. Let's do that. Now we see that the Jurassic square with a check to the past is already on b5. And the next move should be checkmate. But let's say we are not sure about this. Let's enable the daughter game and check. Press daughter game and it is created. We want to verify if this check will lead to mate. So let's enable checkmate detection monitoring. Now we make the move bishop to b5 and confirm it in the daughter game. We see that the checkmate detection algorithm considers this position to be checkmate. So we confidently go to the parent game and win it. Press the corresponding button and repeat our move bishop to b5. Confirm the move and enjoy the sounds of victory. By right-clicking on the opponent's side, we will see the check to the past without creating a daughter game. But let's go back a bit and imagine you are explaining all this to your student. Having made the move with the Tsarina to a4, you explained to him that instead of the move e6, it is better to make the move c6. But the move e6 has already been made, as well as the move with the Tsarina to a4. And the outcome of this game is already predetermined. And everyone understands this. To avoid starting a new game, you can offer the student to take back the move. There is a corresponding button here for this. Press it and see what your opponent sees. And your opponent has it highlighted in red. There is also a message in the system chat that he is offered to take back the move. The student will be happy to avoid defeat and will gladly accept your offer by pressing this button. Then the last 2 moves, yours and his, will be cancelled, and the game can continue with a different scenario. Also, in the game interface, there is a game chat where you can chat with your opponent. Once the game is over, the game chat becomes inactive. And if we are talking about chats, there is also a public chat where everyone can communicate with everyone. This concludes the brief overview of the game interface, and we move on to the description of the pieces. To do this, we can select the corresponding item in this drop-down menu or press the corresponding button here. To familiarize yourself with the movement rules of the pieces, you can first read the help for this section by pressing this button. And since everything is described in detail there, I will not dwell on each piece in detail here but will only describe the interface and the part that can be effectively used by you. To see how a piece moves, select it from the list on the right. Let's choose one of the most interesting pieces. The pawn, for example. Today, each piece has 3 types of movement rules. These are the rules for the main move, the rules for the first move, and the rules for capturing. By switching between these types of rules here, we see how the selected piece can move, depending on whether it is its first move, not the first, or a capturing. If you want a more detailed analysis of the pieces, write about it in the comments under the video, and I will add it to one of the next videos. Here we will talk about the pawn group, pieces that usually cause the most problems with their perception. At the moment, we have 3 types of pawns: the classic pawn, the berserker, and the axerker. They move the same way but capture differently. The difference lies in how we formulate the rule for capturing with a pawn in 2 additional dimensions. If we say that a pawn captures diagonally, moving 1 square in the positive direction along any vertical axis and 1 square in any direction along any horizontal axis, we get an ordinary pawn. As we see, it captures on its own board 1 square forward and 1 square to the right or left. It also captures 1 square forward and 1 square into the past. The past and future are the horizontal direction. Be careful not to block ordinary pawns with a royal piece. Otherwise, it will be a check to the past. Also, an ordinary pawn captures one square up between universes and either right, left on the board in its own time or right, left in time. The capturing rule for the Berserker is different. The Berserker captures one square forward and one square to the right or left, using either the coordinate axes within its board or the coordinate axes of external spacetime, that is, between universes and in time. Axerker is a Berserker with an axe. It is a piece that closely resembles a classic pawn but does not give check to the past. If you want to play with a pawn using the most classic rules without rewriting pawn endgame theory due to checks to the past, then Axerker is exactly what you need. When researching other pieces, you may notice the word INF instead of a number in the last column of the rules table. This means that the piece repeats its move rule an infinite number of times. For example, if you choose a rook, you will see that it moves one square on the board. But in the last column of the table, we see INF everywhere. This means that the rook can move one square an infinite number of times. The same applies to the Pegasus, for example. It moves exactly like a knight, but in the last column, we see INF. This means it can repeat its knight move infinitely and fly infinitely far. With basic information about the pieces, we can now move on to presets. You can access them the same way we accessed the pieces, either by selecting from the list or by clicking the corresponding button. We have three types of presets: standard type, reversed royalty, and variants. Each type has its own rating type. Considering that each time control also has its own rating, we get a total of 9 rating types: Blitz, Rapid, and Classic for each of the 3 preset types. On the right, we see the existing presets. If the preset name starts with an asterisk, it is a system preset and cannot be changed. Today, only system presets are available for creating open challenges. Standard presets include all presets where the board size is 8 by 8 and only standard pieces are used in relatively standard positions. Standard pieces include King and Caesar, Queen and Tsarina, Bishop, Knight, Rook and Draker, Pawn, Berserker, and Axerker. In reversed royalty presets, instead of checkmating the King and Caesar, you need to checkmate the Princess and Tsarevna, who are in the positions of the Queen and Tsarina, respectively. And instead of the Queen and Tsarina, the Regent and Esquire will take care of them, positioned in the places of the King and Caesar, respectively. In variance presets, anything can be included, except for the above mentioned, from fairy pieces to arbitrary starting positions on boards of arbitrary sizes. We will talk about creating custom presets in a separate video. For now, let's look at the main game rules that can be set in a preset. Another subgroup can be distinguished as the Kingdom and Empire subtype. In the Kingdom, there are the King and Queen, and in the Empire, there are Caesar and Tsarina. Everything set on the Standard and Custom tabs is visible on the board on the left. There, you select the pieces and place them on the board, choose the board size and the number of timelines at the start. The most interesting for us is the list of parameters on the last tab, General. The first parameter is the universe's temporal throughput. It can be set either for both players together or for each player separately. This parameter sets the maximum possible number of wormholes creating new universes. In other words, how many times players can travel to the past. If the universe's temporal throughput is full, traveling to the past is no longer possible. This means that checks to the past are also impossible. We have a preset usual chess, for example. In it, the temporal throughput is 0, and 5D chess turns into the most ordinary classic chess. The next parameter sets the maximum number of inactive universes a player can have. In some presets, this can help you prevent the opponent from escaping with kings to inactive universes, because if the number of kings needing to escape exceeds the number of available inactive universes, traveling to the past is impossible, and escaping will not work. The same applies to checks. If you give a check to the past, but your limit of inactive universes is full, this check to the past does not exist until the opponent creates their universe and your limit is freed. The next parameter is the difference in active universes. It sets how many more active universes one player can have compared to the other. If a player has created this number of active universes more than their opponent, the next universe they create will be inactive. Managing these parameters requires imagination, ingenuity, and game experience to create truly interesting presets. Write in the comments which settings of these parameters you consider worthy of attention. The next group of parameters was conceived as a way to make the game more balanced, as the right to the first move probably gives a significant advantage to white, which black does not always manage to neutralize. But besides better balance, these parameters bring new variety to the game and make it much more interesting. The first parameter, which activates its entire subgroup, is allow en passant capturing for pieces. In the usual mode, we allow en passant capturing only for the same piece. That is, the queen can capture en passant only the queen, the rook only the rook, etc. If a piece passes through a square controlled by an opponent's piece, it can be captured en passant on that square. The next parameter, only for travels, limits such captures only to en passant captures of pieces traveling either to the past or between universes. The free-for-all parameter allows en passant capturing not only by the same pieces. That is, any piece can capture any piece en passant. The queen can capture the bishop, the pawn can capture the rook, etc. The next two subgroups of parameters describe how exactly en passant capture will occur within one's self-board and for travels. Within one's self-board, we can choose whether to restore the captured piece or not. If, for example, the opponent's rook captured our bishop, and we capture this rook en passant, our bishop can be restored to its position, or not, depending on this parameter. For travels, we can choose either to capture the opponent's piece, with the same option to restore our piece, or to block the timeline to which the opponent's piece landed. We can also specify whether to block any universe or only the one created by the travel. The blocked universe remains in its place in its status as active or inactive. But the vertical of the present is no longer tied to it, and it is impossible to play on it. However, a check can be given to the past of this universe, and a travel can be made. The next parameter is a rudiment of the Precambrian era. But some people like it. It allows or prohibits white from capturing on f7 in the past before the sixth move. Let's look at a few examples of how temporal throughput works using the example of checks in a local game. Here is a familiar position of almost checkmate, and white should deliver the decisive blow with bishop to b5 with a check to the past. But in this preset, the temporal throughput is equal to 1 and is common for both players. We see that the check to the past exists. It cannot be avoided by ordinary means. But we can fill the temporal throughput by creating another universe by traveling the Tsarina to the past to d7 like this. The check to the past disappears because no one can travel to the past anymore. We also see that now only moves to the last board are allowed. The second example with an inactive universe. In this preset, the temporal throughput for each player is 3, and the maximum number of inactive lines is limited to 1. This means that a player cannot have more than one inactive line. Turning on the Jurassic squares, we see that on the main timeline from squares a4, b5, etc., a check by the Tsarina to the past is possible. We also see that white already has one created active line. Therefore, the next one should be inactive. Let's create it, for example, like this. And now let's try to give a check by the Tsarina on the main line. Creating a test board with the right mouse button, we see that there is no check to the past. However, if black plays somehow like this, creating their universe and making our inactive universe active, the check to the past will appear. Think about which temporal throughput settings would be the most interesting and suggest them in the comments to this video or in the corresponding section on our Discord. Let's now see how en passant capturing works for pieces. In this preset, the free-for-all mode is set, and any piece can capture any piece en passant. The option to restore our captured pieces is also enabled. Let's assume that the black piece is played in such a way that we had a journey and captured here. We confirm the move. The Tsarina is denoted by the letter T in notation. Therefore, on the highlighted squares where we can capture it, the letter T is written. On the F5 square on the central board, we see 2 T letters. This means that 2 Tsarinas passed through this square. One that traveled from the bottom board to the top one, and one that moved within itself board. To perform an en passant capturing, we need to move to the square through which the Tsarina passed. But we need to inform the system that we are not just making a move to this square, but capturing en passant. Therefore, most often, when capturing en passant, we will see a menu with a choice of action and a choice of the piece we want to capture en passant. Let's try to capture the central Tsarina with our central Tsarina on the F5 square. We move to the F5 square and see the menu. If we click on the first item, it will just be a move to the F5 square. Let's undo the move and choose en passant capture. We need to choose which of the Tsarinas we are capturing en passant. By clicking on each of them, the system will tell us where the Tsarina to be captured is located. We select the second item and click Go. We see that the black Tsarina has disappeared, and our pawn on F2 has been restored. At the same time, the highlight for capturing the Tsarina on the top board remains on the F5 square. We can capture it like this, for example. Note that a piece can be captured en passant as long as no move has been made on its board. If we make a move on the top board, the highlight on the F5 square will disappear. Now, let's see what happens with the en passant capturing of the traveler who captured our piece. Let's play like this, for example. By the way, if we capture with a pawn, there is no point in the menu with the choice, as the pawn can only capture on F3. It cannot move there. The choice would be if multiple pieces could be captured on F3. Let's capture with the pawn. We see that the Tsarina has disappeared, and the pawn has also been restored. Now let's see how universe blocking works. We repeat the same thing but without capturing on F2, otherwise, the check will not allow us to complete the move. And we capture en passant like this. We see that the top universe is blocked, and we cannot move to the last board. However, by selecting the knight, we see that it is possible to move to the past of this universe. And giving checks to the past is also possible. Note that we made not the best en passant capturing, because our Tsarina died along with the blocked universe. But we could have saved it. Let's play differently. Like this. In this case, we saved the Tsarina and gained a material advantage. Checks on blocked boards are impossible, and if there was a check on the blocked boards, it ceases to be a threat. Now let's look at time controls. We already know how to switch to them. We click the button with the clock and see the existing time control presets. At the top, there is a button to create your own time control. Let's click on it. We see that the field with the name of the time control preset is cleared, and we need to write something there. But first, let's look at the other parameters. The type of time control is determined automatically. The system looks at the other set parameters and calculates the average number of seconds per move. This number will also be displayed here. If this number is less than 4, the preset type is bullet. If less than 10, then blitz. If less than 40, then rapid. If less than 43,200.1, that's 12 hours per move, then classic. If even more, then it's correspondence. In the rating system, bullet and blitz are combined into one group blitz. Similarly, classic and correspondence are combined into classic. The first parameter is whether to use time control at all. We already have a no time control preset, so we check the box. Next, we choose the same time control for both white and black. If we uncheck the box, we can set different controls for white and black. Remember when we created a daughter game, a list of games appeared under the clock? That list of games implies that you can play multiple games simultaneously. For example, giving a simultaneous exhibition. Usually, the one giving the exhibition has more time control than their opponents. You can also use different controls for white and black if you want to give your opponent a time handicap. In the time control setting for black, there is a copy from white button. It exactly copies the white's control to black, made for ease of editing. But let's choose one time control for both colors. The parameters we can set here are the number of minutes for the number of moves. In our case, for the selected rapid, 20 minutes for 40 moves is set. Next, how many times to repeat. If here is 1, then 20 minutes for the first 40 moves. If here is 2, then 20 minutes for the first 40 moves and then another 20 minutes for the next 40 moves, and so on. After this, 10 minutes will be added until the end of the game. Then we choose how many seconds to add per move. Then we choose how many seconds to add per timeline. The more timelines created, the more time is required for thinking. In our case, if you have one universe, then after confirming the move, 12 seconds will be added. Adding seconds per timeline occurs only for those timelines in which a move was made. If you had 10 timelines and you were always added 50 seconds, and plus 7 per move, a total of 57 seconds. And then you went to the past, for example, and the game continues only in one new timeline, then only 5 plus 7, that is 12 seconds per move, will be added. Next are the delay parameters before the start of the move. In this case, it's 7 seconds per timeline and plus 1 second for every existing 10 boards. The more boards created, the more time is required to analyze them. When you change the specified parameters, the average time per move automatically changes. Right now, we have 30.2 seconds per move. If we reduce the number of minutes until the end of the game and the number of minutes for 40 moves, for example, then when the average number of seconds per move drops below 10, the control type will change to Blitz. And if it drops below 4, then to Bullet. Then you can name the preset and save it. It will appear in the list after you restart the application. Perhaps I have already fixed this, and it appears immediately. Be careful when accepting a challenge. Time presets can be configured in any way by the user who created this challenge. The next thing I would like to cover in this video is spectating a game. First, someone creates a challenge. Let's say, Jungle, with classical time control, unrated, black, do not save, create. Someone accepts it. As soon as the game starts, it appears in the list of active games. And when you are logged into the system, you can see the list of active games here. We see that there is one active game. If we click on it, we will see who is playing with whom and a brief description of the game. Click Watch the game. Let's slightly adjust the window positions on the screen so that we can see everything. Now white will be on the left, black on the right, and the spectator on top. White makes a move, black responds, and the spectator sees it all. If you notice an interesting variation and wonder what would happen if someone played differently, or if you are a streamer and want to show a variation, you could exclaim here, "What are black doing? They are missing a checkmate," and show your viewers what black missed. To do this, you click Create Daughter Game. Here you can see the clock readings in the main game. As you can see, white's time is running, and they are still thinking about their move. This way, you can know if it's time to return to the main game. So, the daughter game is created, and you can move the pieces as in a local game. You show the next move that white is thinking about, confirm it, and show that it's a checkmate. Then you return to the main game and wait with the viewers for white to find it. The last thing I would like to cover in this video is loyalty programs. To get acquainted with them, go to the user list and click the Achievements button. Currently, there are 2 programs. The first is the Jedi Order, where you can train with your master, then train your own Padawans and achieve new ranks from Youngling to Grand Master and receive rewards for reaching each new level. The second program is Invite a Friend, or the Referral Program. For attracting new players, you will also receive a pleasant bonus. To participate in loyalty programs, you need to verify your account via Telegram. To start this process, you need to try to participate in one of the programs. Choose the administrator and click the Send Request button. You can befriend anyone. This has nothing to do with loyalty programs. Therefore, choose the request to accept you as a student or confirm that they invited you to our chess universe. Instead of the administrator, you can choose the user you really want to be a student of or the one who really invited you. However, if you have not yet verified through Telegram, the request will still not be fulfilled, and it doesn't matter who you choose now. When you send such a request, a verification window appears in front of you. Here you are asked to find the Telegram bot in your Telegram, whose name you can copy by clicking this button. Go to Telegram. Find the bot. Enter Start or there will be a launch button. Return to the application and get a secret code. Copy it with this button and send this code to the Telegram bot. Then it asks you to share your phone number. Click the corresponding button. That's it. Verification is complete. You are assigned the rank of Youngling, and you can receive your first bonus. Return to Achievements, select Youngling, see that your reward is ready, and accept it. To check your account status, go to Balance and Transactions and see that you have been credited with the Youngling reward and your total balance here. You can use the bonuses to purchase a premium account or paid features for a certain period. I won't go into detail on this now because the idea is still being developed. The main thought I have today is to choose several presets that will remain free, and the ability to create or accept challenges on other presets will be available only to subscribers. Also, the previously described functions of Jurassic Squares and Daughter Game for online games will be available only to subscribers. Write in the comments what you think about this. So, due to the fact that I sometimes have to upload updates and disable the server, I spend the paid time of subscribers, which needs to be compensated. For this, there are weekly bonuses that you can receive by clicking here. Clicking again will show you a message in the system chat when you can receive the next bonus. Now that you have verified your account via Telegram, you can confirm your invitation for your friend who invited you by sending them the corresponding request, and you can also find yourself a master and become their Padawan by sending them the corresponding request. When you invite someone or when a youngling knocks on your door wanting to become your Padawan, the request will come to you. To be able to recruit and train students, you need to meet a number of criteria to become a knight. You can read about this here. At the time of creating the video, only the administrator has met the corresponding standards. Therefore, add yourself as a student to him, and he will accept you as soon as he appears online. If you have a real teacher whom you want to register as your master, still register as a student to the administrator and encourage your real teacher to quickly meet the knight standard. Then write to me in Discord, and I will transfer you from the administrator to your teacher. There is still a lot of interesting stuff in our application that I would like to talk about, working with the game database, interface settings, saving and loading games, and more, but it doesn't fit in this video. Write in the comments what you would like to know next time and don't hesitate to ask questions. Thank you for your attention. Join our community on Discord, Telegram and Facebook via the links in the description or the QR codes you see on the screen. Add the Dropbox folder to your favorites, where you can always find the full current version of the app, the latest update, and the fresh game database. If you liked this video, you know what to do. Like it, comment, subscribe, share this video with friends, support the channel, click the bell so you don't miss the next videos. All the best to you, and see you soon.